You've been told African spirituality was evil, but have you ever asked who said that and why? My name is Noreen and this is Real Africa Stories. If you've ever wondered why African spirituality was painted as dangerous, stay with me. There's a part of this story missionaries never wanted written down, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Across Africa, long before colonisation, communities relied on spiritual guides. In West Africa, you had the Babaloa and diviners. In South Africa, you had the Sangomas. In East Africa, the Maasai had the Laiboni. And in Central Africa, you had the Nganga, people who worked directly with ancestors. These weren't outsiders, they were advisors, healers, mediators, dream interpreters, and the first counsellors. They held knowledge that connected the invisible world with the invisible one. If you feel unsure about these traditions today, you're not alone. I've felt the same, because many of us grew up hearing that anything spiritual from Africa was witchcraft. But here's what I found when I started looking deeper. Colonisers discredited these practices in very specific ways. First, through language, words like pagan, heathen, and witch doctor were repeated until they shaped how people saw themselves. Second, through law. Many colonial governments created anti-witchcraft acts that banned divination, mediumship, ancestral rituals, or even holding sacred objects. People could be fined or jailed for something their communities had trusted for centuries. And here's the part most people don't realise. Some of these colonial anti-witchcraft laws are still in force today. They survive in places like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Eswatini, parts of Kenya, and sections of West and Central Africa, sometimes rewritten, sometimes left almost unchanged because they're vague. They still influence how people view African spirituality today. Third, through fear campaigns. Missionaries preached that ancestral spirits were demons. Shrines were burned, sacred objects destroyed, and children were taught that their grandparents' beliefs were dangerous. Imagine that psychological impact. Being taught to fear your own identity. Fourth, through replacement. Colonisers didn't just introduce new belief systems. They replaced community healers with church roles, replaced diviners with formal religious teachers, and pushed people towards mainstream religions while discouraging anything tied to ancestral practice. If people trusted their own spiritual leaders, conversion would be difficult, so those leaders had to be discredited. And here's the detail they tried to erase. African spiritual leaders held influence. They anchored the community. They protected cultural memory. Remove them and you weaken everything else. Yet these traditions survived. Some went underground, some blended quietly into everyday life, and some carried on within families, protected by those who refused to forget. So tell me, did these practices survive where you're from? Comment your country below, because every part of Africa has a story the world tried to silence. This is the Africa You're Not Show, but I'm here to show you.